the other day at work, had an issue, and this was the issue. It's a piece of wire, and from where you're sitting, you probably can't tell, but there's a pretty big chunk out of this piece of wire. And I work at Remlinger Farms, as some of you know, and we have various rides out there for children and for adults also. And this was on the antique car ride that is really an antique, and more ways than one. And so a kid came up to me and said, Bob, we've got a problem with the car. It's sparking. So I said, well, okay, let me come over and look at it. So I went over, and sure enough, it was going around the track. And there's a guide track, and it has power for the motor that's on the car itself. And I could see the sparking once in a while, but it wasn't always happening. So I took it off the track, and I said, well, I'll look at it later. So I did, and I found a frayed wire where it could be sparking. And I thought, well, okay, this is it. So I took care of that, pretty simple fix. So I put it back on the track, and I just ran it a little ways, and it was fine. So the next day, the kid comes up to me and he says, Bob, it's still sparking. And I said, really? I thought I fixed that. I said, I worked on it a while, the other evening. He said, oh, it's still sparking. And so I washed it, sure enough. So a little later, I went over and checked on it, and we had taken it off the track. And so I thought, well, that part I fixed is working great. I mean, there's no problem there, so it's got to be somewhere else. So I'm looking around, tracing out wiring, and all of a sudden this shows up. And there's only a few strands of wire left that were actually operating the car. And I said, oh, I really misjudged that. I thought, wow. From my perspective, the way I was looking at it, I thought it was somewhere else, but it was actually kind of hidden, but yet I could see it once in a while. And isn't that kind of like life? A lot of times we misjudge things because we don't see things correctly, or we mishear something, even though I wasn't hearing anything with this. But still, I thought, that could be a sermonette topic, because we talk about judgment quite a bit in the church, but how often are we good at judgment? I mean, I certainly misjudged this. And in my job, I used to be a part of management. I used to have to hire and fire, and thankfully I'm not doing that anymore. That was very difficult, very, very difficult. And in our daily lives, we're always judging, whether to buy, Wheaties or Cheerios or something, but that doesn't have a dramatic effect on other people. But when we're judging each other, especially here in the church, it can have a very dramatic effect, can't it? And it's so hard not to do. It's so hard because we hear about somebody, and it's so easy to say, well, did you hear about so-and-so, what they're doing or what they're not doing? And we also judge by appearance. You say, well, that person is not dressing very well, and so on and so forth. When we look at what Jesus Christ had to say on the subject, and we're all very familiar with these scriptures, but in John 7:24, Jesus Christ says, do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. And so number one, judging by appearance, it's hard not to do. We even judge what cars people drive and how they live and how magnificent their house is or not. But Jesus Christ says, don't do it. Don't do it. It's so easy to do, but we shouldn't be doing it. And I've also thought about, what if Tom Hanks or Bill Gates or somebody like that showed up at church here? Wouldn't we make a big to-do over those people? We'd all want to shake their hands. We'd all want to say, wow, that last movie of yours was great. Wow, just fantastic that you're so wealthy, and now you're going to support the church, and stuff like that. No, but anyway, and other people show up, and it's like, oh, hey, there's somebody new. Yeah, well, I guess I should go over and talk to them. And some of us are good at that, and some of us aren't. And so that's another thing that's hard not to do, is judging by appearance. And also, as we judge, we are going to be judged. As it says in Matthew 7:1, I'm not going to go there, but it's very true, as Jesus Christ said. As we judge, we will be judged. I mean, you think about politics and everything that's going on in the swamp back in Washington, D.C. It's getting so rancorous and so judgmental. Everybody's judging everybody else. And if you're not with this tribe and you're with that other tribe, you're just terrible. And if you're in that tribe, that other tribe is terrible. It's become very tribal, very hateful, and it's getting worse and worse. It hasn't come to killings yet, but look at ancient Rome. I mean, right and left, it was taking place. So judging can be very difficult for other people when they're being judged by you, and they may not even know it. And so it's important, as Jesus Christ said, if somebody said something hurtful about you, what's your reaction supposed to be? Well, number one, you should be praying about it, but you'd also should go to the other person. As it says in Matthew 18:15, go to that person and talk to them directly. And just recently, it's been a little while, a situation happened with me. And I heard some really good news about some people, really good news. And I thought, wow, they've been hoping for this for a long time. And so I told a few people. Well, they came to me later and they said, Bob, yeah, it's really good news, but we wanted to tell those people ourselves the good news. And I thought, oh boy. Yeah, why did I do that? Couldn't contain myself. And so I apologized, and they said, yeah, that's fine, Bob. It's okay. We understand. But I just said, boy, Bob, people sometimes want to spread their own good news. And so no harm done, thankfully, but I felt about that high. I felt really small. I said, I should have known that they would want to tell some people about their good news. So. And it's kind of like, it's interesting with women sometimes when they get pregnant. And this was not a pregnancy thing, but they get pregnant, and yet they don't want to tell anybody for 3 or 4 months. It's like, why not? I being a male, I don't understand, but I'm sure you ladies do. So anyway, but my case, I had a lesson to learn there. And also, what about rumors? What do we do about rumors? I think the best thing with rumors is for them to stop with you and with me. Because I'm talking to myself here as much as I'm talking to everybody here in all these situations. Rumors can be so destructive, so hurtful. So it's best if they stop with you. We all have our major issues to deal with and our minor issues to deal with. And as Jesus Christ talks about, once again, about the beam in your own eye versus the small speck in somebody else's eye. Sometimes it's so easy for us to see other people's flaws but not see our own. So it's a tough subject. I'm not even sure where to, I wasn't even sure if I should talk about this, but still, it's something we have to be aware of. And our righteous judge, Jesus Christ and God, are there for us to help us in these situations. If you look at Psalms 119:66, the psalmist is, and these are a great set of scriptures, but the psalmist is asking God, let me find it here, teach me good judgment and knowledge, for I believe your commandments. The way to deal with our own issues and hopefully try and stay out of other people's issues as best we can, unless it's somewhere where you can actually be helpful, go to God and Jesus Christ. Ask God for His Holy Spirit to be working with your human spirit to help have righteous judgment in issues of personal contact and things that are going on with various people. And pray for people that that are struggling. But hold back from rumors. Hold back from those things that can be very hurtful. And as Paul said in Romans 14:13, our judging can really hurt, especially if it gets spread around as a rumor. It can not only hurt individuals, it can hurt the church, and it can even hurt ourselves, because as we judge, we will be judged. And as we know, in the future, in God's kingdom, we'll be doing a lot of judging and a lot of teaching and a lot of training and a lot of loving. And what we really have to focus on is what's best for that individual. And a lot of times it's prayer and just saying, can I help? Instead of saying, wow, did you see what that person did? And as we also know, we'll actually even be judging angels in the future. So brethren, work on righteous judgment, love one another, and be there for one another.